On the property seizures and things like that, I have deep concerns where as county budgets and things become tighter and more restrictive, that there is assets forfeiture and there is seizure, that every effort is tried to, repatriate that property with its owner, and it doesn't become a revenue source for the county, especially in benefit to the department that may have seized the asset. It probably is appropriate for those assets to go into the general fund, and then yourselves as a board reappropriate them as you see fit or necessary. I don't think it should be looked at as a possible revenue stream for the individual departments.
It really does make sense that the money that's generated from these auctions, no matter how they end up back in the sheriff's office, end up in that department. These funds are used to help do the job that the sheriff has to do in collection of these, whatever the items are, and they have to recoup their costs somehow. So it makes perfect sense to me anyhow that this money should go back to the sheriff's department. The things they do in retaining this property until it can be disposed of, and it just makes, to me, perfectly good sense. Thank you.
Well, this is going to pass. It's a ceremonial vote. It's a done deal. There'll be another public reading, but this thing's over. But the good thing for the public is that occasionally the blanket's lifted up and we get to see how the county government actually works. You may recall a little over a year ago, the sheriff had come to you and he suggested that there was some money that came in due to enforcement and that should just go right back into his department. And the commissioners decided in their wisdom, no, we're not going to do that. First we'll put it into the general fund and then it will go straight into your department. Well, it looks better, but the result's the same. What's going to happen here is that when these items are, when they are non-recoverable, they will go into the general fund, and then it will be requested by the sheriff's department, and then granted to the sheriff's department. At least it looks good. The problem in some other counties is that someone may not work very hard. I'm not saying deputy leave, but someone may not work very hard in another county to find the owners, because every bit of property that's sold, then that money goes into the sheriff's department. With making that all important step over to the side, it goes in the general fund, and then it goes straight to the sheriff's fund. You may recall when our legal counsel wrote up some ordinances. He since says that although he wrote it up, it's not his fault that there were errors in them. And one of the errors adopted by the two commissioners that are here was that when a department goes out and finds somebody, that money would turn right around and go back to that department. Well, no risk, of course, that some unscrupulous people in other counties, of course, would go and find you because they would bring in more money for their department. It was embarrassing. And there were a lot of talk about, well, what can we do to mitigate this? Well, we can't change it now. So, as I said, every once in a while, it's a good idea to see how county government actually works. It's a good thing that we've got people that are that can be relied upon, but very similar to the idea that we ought to have 103 commissioners. No, it doesn't matter whether there's 5, 3, or 103. It all comes down to the personality and honesty, or lack thereof, of each individual commissioner or person that works in the sheriff's department.